And our special guest from YouTube is Godless Geezer. Godless Geezer, I have a few questions I'd like to ask you. Were you ever religious at one time? And if you were, how did you come to your non-belief?
Yes, I was a fundamentalist Christian up until it's kind of hard to say when I stopped because it was a gradual process, but approximately the age 30, I was in fact a door knocking fundy. And of course, my church was the one true church. But what really led me out of it was simple things. One, I read the Bible, and that really fucked up the faith
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, that usually does for most people. It's like, read, oh my
But
God, what the hell's in this thing?
yeah, but even before that, the thing is I truly believed rather than just believing in the system or believing in believing. And so I believed if you prayed for something, it ought to happen. And
Mm-hmm.
what really got me doubting was the uh, preacher at our congregation got brain cancer when he was about 31. He had a newborn and I think a 3 year old.
Mm-hmm.
And, he had to step down, but, they took care of his needs and everything. But, and we arranged for people all over the country. There were thousands of people praying for him to recover, and he died, leaving behind
Mm.
two young children and a widow. And and for me, the usual excuse of, oh, God has plans you don't understand just wouldn't work because what did this guy want to do?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, was he doing anything bad? No, at least from my perspective at the time, no, he just wanted to preach the gospel and save people.
Right.
So, and he needed to provide for his young children. So that got me really, really doubting. And then I noticed, I actually tried to find someone who was ill from something that could not be cured by medical science,
Mm-hmm.
anything, and I couldn't find a single person, And then I realized that people pray for things that are likely to happen, and then if they happen to happen, then they said God did it, and I began waking up, and then I started, of course, as a Christian, I read the Christian approved verses and left 95% of the Bible unread. And
Mm.
so I started reading it cover to cover and was absolutely disgusted by what was in it. Genocides and genocides and genocides and
Mm-hmm.
ludicrous thing after ludicrous thing after ludicrous thing. And then one day I just realized that at every point, reality would be one way if God existed. I had to make an excuse.
No.
It's like, okay, if God had written a book, then, to tell us how he wanted to live, would he have spent so much time on genealogy, begats, and political intrigue in the dynasty of David, or would he have just gotten straight to it and say, "Hey, be kind to each other, don't rape babies," uh, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Keep it 2, 3 pages. So that's just the way I began seeing it, and just slowly actually my belief in God just faded out before my belief in religion did. So because I for a while I believed that okay, even if there isn't a God, we're transforming lives, getting people off drugs,
Right.
stuff like that, and I gave myself that excuse for a while, but then it just finally reached a point I couldn't do it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I left religion, finally was able to say the phrase, I am an atheist. To me,
And
is
lightning didn't strike you?
enlightening, didn't strike.
Oh.
So
I
then
had a
I
bad
just,
cough when I said I went.
uh, yeah, so then I got involved on about.com on their atheist and agnostic forum, which no longer exists. But, and that's kind of where I got my style for
Hmm.
attacking religion.
Yeah.
Did that for years. Then I started to, with my younger child, my daughter,
Mm-hmm.
we call her Clara. That's not her real name. Uh, we started doing some YouTube videos on a channel that didn't work out with let's us doing a parody Bible study where I do a character called Donnie K. Ruger based on Dunning Kruger effect.
I
and
saw that video. That was I
yeah,
was just gonna ask you about video.
yeah,
What?
and and her name is Annie Krista for Antichrist. And the weird thing is the before I didn't specifically state that we were atheist and this was satire
Hmm.
because I thought it was obvious, but I had a Christian uh, message me wanting to work with me on my ministry and share our work together. It's like we're saying God needs therapy. We're saying that that God has a blood fetish. We're saying God needs magic blood to give him the power to forgive sins.
Oh God, that's too
And it's
funny.
like, how could you not see this as satire?
What did you have to do to say that God's a genocidal maniac? He needs
Yeah,
therapy. It's like,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I
That
think we need to collaborate on something there.
yeah. And that line where in the video where my daughter says, "God needs therapy," she ad libbed that, and we had to edit out about 10 minutes of us laughing our asses off. And we had to redo that bit because. So yeah, I only do those occasionally with her. She is a teenager and
Yeah,
does teenage things, but
I was a
yeah,
teenager once for about a day
yeah,
or two. You know,
yeah. So yeah, usually when we record, well, we'll go on for 30 or 40 minutes and have 10 minutes that's usable because we're just laughing our asses off the rest of the time. And
that's like this show. We'll sit here record for hours and we get like 5 or 10 minutes worth of good video. I'm just saying.
but anyway, yeah, but even though my YouTube channel is primarily dark comedy and a little bit of politics, but I do have a serious thing I do with it that's not always obvious,
Yeah.
and that actually came about from what I learned. Doing I've been doing atheist stuff online for about 15 years now.
Mm.
That a lot of people who've just deconverted, or as I prefer to call it, had their faith cured,
There
have
you go.
residual programming left over. And I encountered people who had been an atheist for 5 years who were afraid of going to hell, that they made a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what I thought I could do, and this is, rather than doing the usual logical dissection just with over the top comedy, show just how ridiculous all this shit is.
Mm-hmm.
That, that the Christian interpretation and even the Jewish interpretation of scriptures does not characterize what's actually there. That
Right.
it's, you got Yahweh is a psychopath, a narcissistic psychopath,
Right.
and so, I did this series, Yahweh and the serial killers, over the top exaggerations, but not that much,
Right.
and that was what I was getting to break down this, I guess what Richard Dawkins would call memes,
Mm.
mimetic programming. That's what that's the serious thing in my videos is I'm thinking, oh, yeah, I want it to be entertaining and fun, but at the same time, I want to address that residual programming that newer atheists can have, that they're afraid,
Right.
and to help them see that, yes, this is utter and complete nonsense.
Yeah. I do have some additional questions here. How do you go about producing your videos, and how do you film and edit them?
Okay, I recently started doing them in front of the camera, but that was just so I could do more but I usually will do a script, then I will record audio only, uh, do it as many times as it takes to get what I like, edit it down. Then I would do, you know, images off the net, or sometimes I take something and Photoshop it to something I like.
Mm-hmm.
And then I typically would get, Creative Commons music to go along with it, so I can, and I'm trying to create not only a message, but a feeling for it.
Right.
Just trying to, and I deliberately make the comedy over the top. William Shatner's School of Overacting. Uh, so, but
What
yeah,
are
yeah,
you
but
doing? No.
but most, some videos I put, I get an idea and I'll have it together in a day or two. But a lot of these videos I've done, it's something I've been working on over a month, trying to figure out how to say it. So, and I recently started doing some in front of the camera, like when I had my what I call my Yahweh mask, my Nosferatu mask. Actually, I can't talk with that thing on, so the sound you hear was my usual way of doing it, scripted, heavily edited, and then I played it and acted out to it because otherwise it sounded that's what it sounded like. So yeah, it's actually two things I did. It's on different days actually. But yeah, I'm going to be doing more of those. I am. I got about 20 videos in the works right now, but
Oh, wow. You got your fingers
so
on a lot of pies at the
but
moment.
yeah, I'm going to be doing some more of Yahweh reading the Bible. The next one's going to be Yahweh's entrails.
Oh, jeez.
So,
That sounds like a fun video. Speaking of videos, what made you decide to open up a YouTube channel and say, "Here I am, and here's this message that I want to get out to you through the way I create these videos."
okay. At first, it came about with my daughter, whom I'm calling Clara.
Right.
She has some. We live in a very conservative religious area, and she had friends who were very, very religious. They got along great, but she was kind of feeling isolated,
Mm-hmm.
because, she's a lifelong atheist. And, she has one friend who's a Messianic Jew, another who's a Mormon,
Mm-hmm.
but a liberal Mormon. Uh, and so at first she was just feeling very left out. And so we just decided to do this. We
Right.
talked about having an outlet. And so we started it as she and I were doing videos. But, then I realized that, I was focusing those videos on a middle school to early high school level.
Mm-hmm.
And so was content I could not do that. And I realized had more to say. So I started Godless Geezer channel. And then, my daughter didn't really want to do the other channel anymore, or at least not often enough to get it going.
Right.
So, I did mirror those videos on my channel eventually. And so then with my own channel, I could have the more adult content. But I still, with both of the channels, uh, I did the thing of trying to go after programming,
Right.
because that's yes, in comedy, rather than trying to dissect what's logically wrong. But at the same point, my thoughts were, I kind of probably thought that George Carlin's famous rant, "Religion is bullshit,"
Oh.
probably cured as many people's faith as Richard Dawkins' best arguments. And so, so it occurred to me, yeah, I could just reiterate all the okay, logical fallacy stuff, and there's a place for that. I'm not dissing it. It needs to be done, but I thought with my bizarre sense of humor, maybe I could make a better voice using that, and
Oh, there you go.
that's how it evolved. And so the first video I did for Godless Geezer was called Yahweh and the Dirt People, where I reviewed the Bible as if it was a a fanboy thing like Star Wars or Star Trek,
Mm-hmm.
as if I didn't know what religion was.
Oh, jeez. How did you come up with the name Godless Geezer for your channel? I mean, it's a great hook. I like it. It's
Okay, actually, I was using that before the channel. I used to go by the handle Atheist Keith. Keith is my middle name,
okay.
and I got bifocals, and
Oh.
I was feeling kind of old, and I said, okay, for presbyopia, that's what you need bifocals for. It means old eyes. So I said, okay, I'm officially old. That means I'm a geezer. And so I came up with Godless Geezer from that.
Nice.
and and so I
You're
just
lucky that you got that name sooner before I did because I just recently got bifocals myself.
yeah,
So,
so I have been using Godless Geezer since I was 40 years old.
uh,
I'm in my late 40s. I'm nowhere near my as old as my icon or my avatar.
okay. What do you do outside of your YouTube persona? Do you have a job? Do you hunt squirrels? I mean,
No,
what do you do?
yeah, I'm actually physically disabled. I'm on disability.
Okay.
But I, so it's very difficult for me to get out. I have to use a walker and stuff.
Oh,
But, I don't feel sorry for myself.
Connie's over
But
here though. No, a
yeah,
different walker. I'm sorry.
yes, yes. But, I do have my older child has various difficulties. I don't want to,
Hmm.
discuss them, but
Oh, sure.
anyway, she has to be under alternative placement for school, so she's not homeschooled, but she's schooled at home. She has online schooling that is done through this district, and they make sure that she's staying on curriculum and stuff. So it's not a traditional homeschool.
Oh, okay,
So
that's good.
like I do
Nice.
help her with like pre-calculus and biology and things like that.
Oh,
And I'm also a moderator on Khan Academy. If you That's an educational website.
oh, okay.
It's a charity.
Uh,
So there I help students with calculus, chemistry, biology,
I,
things like
I
that.
I have a calculator. That's how I do it. I just like okay, one
Yeah, my
and one.
family somehow, because I like to do calculus problems for fun, they think I'm weird. I
You
am a
are
nerd. I
weird.
admit that. Yeah, other people follow the sports teams. I get a particularly challenging integral or differential equation to solve, and I enjoy it.
Well, nothing wrong with that. I have one more question. And I'm going to turn the questions over to Connie. Are there any other channels out there that you really like? I mean, other than Packard Pokes At.
Uh, yes, I mean some of the more major ones. Well, I guess medium ones. I am very fond, and it's probably my favorite channel, is Robin Dupree Reads.
Mm-hmm.
I love her style. She's funny and, let's face it, a little bit bitchy, but in the good way. uh, yes, I like Essence of Thought
Mm-hmm.
pretty well.
We've had both of them on the show here too.
Yeah, yes, Deconverted Man. And
Mm-hmm.
despite the little thing I'm doing with him this week, we're actually good friends. I even know his real name, and it is not what I said it was on my video. He is not Dave Trump, but yeah.
Uh,
And in fact, Deconverted Man is the only person I'm a patron of,
Mm.
uh, because he does have some, not through his own fault, he does have some financial needs, and I could help him, and I did.
There you go.
And there's a lot of the major ones, like the Messianic Manic. I like. Then also, I've tried to promote them. There's some little bitty channels that I personally think should do better. I'm very fond of Illogical Reaper. He's not even got into 100 uh,
Logical
subscribers.
Reaper.
Illogical Reaper.
Illogical Reaper.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's this. I think he's 19, 20 years old, and he does the usual respond to video things, but he has so much sarcasm. He's hysterical to me, anyway. And the guy that I was mentioning in this week's videos, he's a little bitty YouTuber called the Forbidden Thinker. He's
thank you. Yes.
very, very, very strange. Uh, but he's going on searches for magic bacon and stuff.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Well,
yeah,
bacon
yeah,
is
he's
magical. I'm just saying.
yeah, yeah. So basically, the bacon that was made out of Jesus has been all eaten up now, and so he's trying to get the devil made into bacon now. It is the strangest channel I've ever encountered. But
I used to have this picture. I probably have it on my computer someplace. It's a picture of Jesus up on the cross and everything, and it has all the different meats you'd be getting off of Jesus. So you got your ribeye over here, and your your thigh meat over here. You know, so it's a great little meme.
yeah, yeah. The one thing I don't like about the way modern YouTube is, though, unlike it used to be years ago, is you can have great content and nobody can see it because
Yeah,
if you don't get a shout out, no one knows you exist.
yeah.
It's
Everybody's
like,
watching cat videos.
because used to you could have search terms that when people search they would actually find them,
Hmm.
and you would get some traffic. But now it's like you really do have to get a shout out to get going.
Yeah.
And I had fortunately Actually, Essence of Thought gave me a shout out, and a few others, and then it really helped when Wildwood Claire gave me a shout out. I got like 300 subs from her, but of
Nice.
course, she's semi-retired now. But when she was going, I loved her channel. That was
Same
awesome.
here. I miss her so much.
Me too. I've been thinking when someone needs to go kidnap her and force her at gunpoint to make more shows. But but she has
You know
Get
what
on
done.
though?
camera.
We
She
need to
has done them
tempt
for
her.
years and
We need to
years, so she
tempt her
probably
with
just said what she had to say, and that happens.
Yeah.
we could tempt her maybe with season tickets for the soccer matches and
Yeah,
craft beer. Uh,
yeah, yeah. But yeah,
Fish beta.
if she were still making videos, she would be my favorite YouTuber because I love how she mixes her wit with actual science.
Mm.
Because before I had to go on disability, I'm a chemist by training. An analytical chemist, but so I was learning things I never knew, you know, because geology deals with that chemical aspects of
Exactly.
chemistry that we don't directly deal with in chemistry, things
Yeah.
about how minerals form. So her
Right.
geology briefs were really fascinating to me,
Yeah.
and I miss them.
Yeah. Well, all right. I'm going to turn the questions over to Connie. Connie, what are your questions for Godless Geezer?
Okay. Which kills more people, Godless Geezer? Bacon or God? I mean, we do have that new report that came out
Confession:
that
I don't eat pork. Not religion. My grandfather raised pigs, and I saw too much once upon a time,
Oh
and
no.
not been able to eat it since. But uh, obviously, God, even though He doesn't exist, He's very successful at getting people to murder each other.
Yeah. All right.
exactly.
I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
So bacon is actually good, guys. See, that's what I was thinking too. It's like we
That means God is more evil then,
Yes,
and bacon is heavenly. Just saying.
yes. But since God doesn't like bacon, if you were to throw it at him, would he like explode or something or dissolve?
God, that'd be yeah.
We-
Wait, that's what we need. We need more bacon. We need bacon
I'm gonna
bits.
start wearing bacon.
That's the artillery of our anti-God thing.
Yeah,
Because
that's
that's what we really do is we really do hate God deep down. I know
I,
that.
I am gonna go out and buy a bacon shirt tomorrow. It's like, what's with the bacon shirt? I'm
yeah.
defending myself from God. He hates
I wonder if you
bacon.
could make a Jesus on the cross, but have the cross be bacon,
Oh
crispy fried
no,
bacon.
no.
When they were piercing his side, somebody posted okay.
They
Tavares
were
said
taking some.
something about they pierced Jesus' side to check for tenderness. No, they were trying to cut away the bacon.
Yeah, yeah. They want to make sure it was the right level of fat and all that.
God. Well, first of all, I just gotta say I absolutely love the first thing I heard from you. But I think it was I don't know if it was a shout out because of Steve Shives or somebody else, but yeah, your videos with your daughter were just hilarious. I keep wishing that she'd do more with you. So you transferred those from your old channel to this new channel, or how did I'm sorry.
Yes. Now though, we did do another one. Sodom, a whole lot of love was new. Uh,
Okay, yes.
and my uh suffer the children under God under Yahweh and the serial killer. She did the intro, which begins, if you've not seen it, or your audience probably hasn't, but it says, "In the beginning, Yahweh drowned all the babies in the world and their parents too. As he looked out over the floating corpses of his many victims, Yahweh saw that serial killing was good."
Ugh.
And then I digitally altered that to make her sound like she was 6.
Oh,
And
nice.
so,
Uh,
yeah, but actually, she sometimes gives me some opinions on some of the stuff I do. But, yeah, just whenever is in the mood to do it, we've been wanting to do something about Jephthah
Hmm.
or
okay.
maybe
Oh, Jephthah.
Jeb, yeah, or however it's pronounced. And then
Right.
we've also talked about doing Jonah and the joyride and the fish. So, I can't say how often she'll do stuff. Just, she's a
Oh,
teenager doing her thing. So,
Mhm.
but yeah, yeah. I mean, we did do a few other ones for this show. We did some Google Translate stuff
oh, I
where
loved.
we
Oh
yeah
gosh, that
where
was so
we
funny.
we just ran the Ten Commandments through Google Translates for a few hundred times, completely uh, distorting the Ten Commandments.
Oh,
And the
jeez.
one we loved the most was "Thou shalt not commit adultery" became "Faith is fornication."
Oh,
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
oh, that sounds like
that
fun.
was a really funny one. See, Robin Dupree Reed is my swear therapist. She's helped
Hmm.
me come a long way. So
I think being on the show has brought you a long way too, there, Connie.
that's true. That's true. I slut shaming. Instead of a swear jar, I have a slut shaming jar. I mean, just for me. Now, as a parent, it's interesting because I deconverted when my children were they weren't even 10 or 12 years old yet. But it's been interesting raising them, and more, moving through all of the different things that I've let go of, all of the different imperatives that I felt like, Christianity built into me. But I still acknowledge the fact that at some point in my kids' lives, they may consider whether or not they believe in God. They, right now they're kind of like, oh yeah, they're sort of on board with me. They're 18 and 20. Well, and I look at it and I go, well, if at some point they said, oh, I think I believe in God now, and they want to become Christian or some other religion, I'm not quite sure how I'd handle that, because I kind of feel like, I know my older children were used to being raised in church. And so I question, like, well, would I react any differently to my younger kids, maybe coming up and telling me, hey, mom, I'm a Christian, or I'm Buddhist, or I'm, whatever flavor it is. Have you thought about that at all with your
Uh,
kids? How would you
yes,
react?
yes, and we have discussed that in detail. Uh,
Good.
the way I put it to them growing up, and well, they're still growing up, but when they're very young, I said, you need to try to follow the golden rule. Everything else is negotiable. And, I don't have a God, I don't have a religion. If you want one, that's fine, look for it yourself. But I've taught them that it was far more important what you do with what you believe than what you believe. If believing that the moon is made of green cheese somehow made you treat people in a nicer fashion, then by all means believe the moon is made out of green cheese. But so I've
Yeah.
told them, I'm not a god that I should be right about everything. You need to check out beliefs and claims, and the more you believe something, the harsher you should be in checking it out, because you're not a god either, and you could be wrong. And so that's the way
Skepticism.
I've taught them skepticism, how to
Right.
believe rather than what to believe. But and actually, my Clara, she when she was very young, her maternal grandmother died, and it was very hard on her. So she dabbled with believing in heaven because she wanted grandma to be someplace nice. So I
Right.
just told her, I didn't believe that, but she was free to believe it, and that was fine, because I said I'm not right about everything, and she did that for a while, though she didn't believe in God, just heaven. Because she said, I said, if you believe in heaven, do you believe in a God? And she says, no, let's skip that. So, she believed
Yes.
it was just a nice place that people could go. But she doesn't believe that now. That was she was really young when when Grandma died.
Oh.
But the way I look at it, I am not strictly speaking anti-religion, because
Anti-theist.
I
Yeah.
am and I guess, anti fundamentalism, and
Yeah.
but I do, and I've actually tried to think of ways to address this on my channel because there's certain things I'm not willing to make fun of.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Is And actually, I think I talked to Packard about this earlier this week. Is about if you're liberal or moderate in your religious beliefs, you're not directly, if it's just a community to you, it's the thing you do to give support, and that kind of thing, have a little, everyone needs a community, and you
Right.
don't take it that seriously. You're not directly hurting people, but at the same time, you are lending material support to those who do because you're giving a pretty face to Christianity, which, and I'm sorry to say it, the people who are homophobes have the Bible right, and I hate homophobia
Oh,
passionately.
oh no.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean that, but they have it right. That's what the Bible
Yeah.
says.
Yeah, well, yeah, no,
And
we say that here on the show
the
too.
Bible is hate, 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 hate. And so if yeah, you can cherry pick the Bible and get get a good moral here and there if you really try, and then you just have a more modern belief where you don't take things literally, but at the same, so you know, I mean, it's better than being a fundamentalist, but at the same time, you're giving a, support for the stuff that's bad by being part of the religion. And I don't know how to address that because I'm, just what I'm willing to mock and ridicule has to be, for me, it has to be something that's hurting someone. I'm not willing
Right.
just to mock in general. You know,
Right.
Even it's just, to me, that's my rule. Is I rarely mention any specific individual, and my rule is this person has to be hurting someone.
Mm.
The amount of harm that's
Yeah.
being put out. Yeah, I
Yes.
agree. It's like I often say I go after the bigger targets that are actually out there and trying to inflict further harm
Yeah.
and incite other people to do harm.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
definitely agree. And the last thing to let go for myself too was really thoughts about death and where you go afterwards. That's been the hardest part for me to deal with, I think. But yes, it's so it winds up being something very personal. But yeah, so the thoughts about, well, is there something after this? And
Yeah. Well, actually, my
Mhm.
children and I have discussed potential afterlife
Yeah.
and everything. And I like what Mark Twain said about it. He said, I was dead for billions of years
Mm.
before I was born, and I did not suffer the slightest inconvenience for it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I
that's a
love
great. I
that. I
love that's a great
love that
quote.
quote. Yes.
Okay. The way I've
Mhm.
discussed, the idea of eternal life, even in bliss with my children, is to me, no matter what you're doing, eternal life is the worst thing that could ever happen to someone.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I explained it to them is, yeah, you want to live longer than you're going to live. It'd be nice to live 1,000 or 1,000,000 years. But think of it this way. You went through every atom in the universe, and with every atom in the universe, you did every conceivable thing that you could do and spent 100 billion years using that atom in any way you could think of. And then you went on to the next atom, and you went through every atom in the universe. Well, you'd just be beginning for eternity.
Yeah.
How could you stay interested? No matter how thrilling a subject is, how many billions of years can you stay interested in it?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and if you
Right.
had eternal life, even in a mansion made of gold and ivory and 100,000 virgins or whatever you think is bliss, uh,
You get bored.
you'd get bored. I mean,
Yeah.
and it would be, to me, the fact that life is temporary is what makes it wonderful.
Yeah.
Yes, I want to live longer
Yeah.
than I will, but I have a term for and as such as I believe in anything religious or anything uh, not supernatural, but it's sort of a religious thing. It's what I call light fantastic.
Mhm.
And if you consider our immediate ancestral species, Homo heidelbergensis, they existed for hundreds of thousands of years. And, of course, we only have their artifacts, their tools and stuff that remain. Didn't change much at all in hundreds of thousands of years. But then our species comes along and we evolve, we grow, not just physically, but culturally. And the way I look at it, it's like an unbroken chain of each generation taking the traditions and learning from the previous generations, but not replicating them, but modifying them, learning more and more. And so we have this unbroken chain of being from 60,000 years ago, or whenever it was that Homo sapiens became creative. Uh, and we're just part of that chain. And so for me, that's better than eternal life because I receive from all the ancestors the knowledge and mistakes that they made. And I can say, here's where they did it right, here's where they did it wrong. I can pass on to my children a little bit better. And so this is the evolving culture of humanity and the light that we, unlike other species, can improve upon ourselves just by thought.
Hmm.
And so for me, by being part of the unbroken chain, it's beautiful because if the older generations lived forever, then that would hinder the growth of what I call light fantastic. So it's important that we pass on so that this trek that humanity is going through can improve. And of course, I'm not delusional. I know it's had good days and bad days. Today was a bad day, but if you think about what even 200, 300 years ago, what was considered normative in humanity, even in the most enlightened places, women were essentially property. They had no rights. Um, religion was forced upon you, and all slavery was normative. And consider how much progress we made in just 300 years.
Yeah.
Yes, there's horrible messes yet to be done, but we can do what we can in our generation, and the next generations can improve it. So for me, that's how I address the fact that our lives are temporary.
Mm-hmm.
Is it's good.
Okay, Connie, do you have any additional questions? Because we do have a few questions from the chat room I'd like to get
I
to.
gotta say, no, pass it to the chat room.
Okay, if
Thank you.
Our question from Dawkins Dog: if you could replace just one of the 10 Commandments with one of your own, what would it be?
I would replace all 10 of them with "Don't be a dick."
Nice.
Or if you want to say it more directly, don't betray people. I mean, the golden rule is all you need.
Okay. We have another question from You're Damned. He says, what would it take to change your position and once again believe in a deity?
Nothing. I made a video about it. Even if someone were to prove beyond all doubt the existence of that which is called God, I would not regard it as a God because of the problem of evil. I would regard it as a super being. I would not worship it or consider it a God. So I am closed to the issue of there being a God in the sense that it's a being that deserves my worship and is going to get it. I mean, if someone were to, bring a God out and said, here he is, I said, okay, yeah, there's one, but he's not a God to me.
Yeah, there you go. Alrighty. Godless Geezer, where can they find your channel? And you just recently opened your own Twitter account, as I recall.
Yes, I never bothered with Twitter until now because I'm long-winded. And, I have trouble narrowing it down to 140 sentences, let alone 140 characters.
And I twisted his arm, too.
Yeah, you twisted my arm, so I broke down and entered the 21st century. Okay, on YouTube, it's just Godless Geezer channel. On Facebook, I'm known as Kosh God. That's KOSHGOTT. And Twitter, it's just Godless Geezer. And let's see. Yeah, and if you want to email me, I do have a public email for social media. That's koshgod@gmail.com. So it's KOSHGOTT at gmail.com. And if I could plug a little something,
Sure.
with the war on Christmas, I'm with a couple other atheists trying to get YouTubers to make humorous Christmas videos, or even just say season's greetings, to destroy Christmas as we know it, and we're going to try to tie them together. So get in contact with me. I'm going to put up a video in a few days about it.
Excellent.
But if you just want to make something funny, a parody, a comedy skit, or just say season's greetings, or happy holidays, since that is destroying Christmas nowadays, we're hoping to get a bunch of people involved and have this atheist Christmas caroling.
Nice.
So calling it.
All right, you let me know what it is exactly you need, and we'll get that. I'll get you out a video too.